Welcome to Marketing MASH, brought to you by themarketingscope.com.
Welcome to the Marketing MASH. I'm Eric Vidal. Today with me is Shaelyn McCormick, and Shay is on our marketing team. She's the most recent out of college, so that's why we wanted to bring her on this Marketing MASH. And actually, when we were just about to start, she said, you know, why is it called Marketing MASH? Maybe we should start our own show called Marketing and Mimosas, because it's nice and early and we're about to start the weekend, and that's a whole nother story. But we want to talk about getting a job in marketing and some of the things you need to do before to get that job, to land that job, and then some of the things to expect once you first start that job. And yes, I'm much older, and everyone on our team reminds me of it, makes fun of me for that. But in the 90s, these are some things that we did, and maybe you can compare or contrast. We can talk about some things that we can do nowadays, but back then we had to come prepared for an interview, especially in marketing and advertising and some of those disciplines. We had a portfolio, or at least we had a couple writing examples. I don't see that a lot anymore. And so stand out, be someone that brings real life examples, or even examples from college or from school. The other thing that we used to do was we would do mock examples. We show something that we created that was for a mock campaign. So that's one thing. And the other one is know the person who's interviewing you. It's easy nowadays. It was hard back in the day, but find out a little bit about that person on LinkedIn or through search engines, Google, what have you. So maybe even a little social media stalking could help. Speaking of social media, on the other hand, know that we're going to be looking at you. We have a gal here who's been with us for a while, and what she does is before someone comes in to interview, I say, oh, hold on, I was going to do 5 phone interviews. She's all, no, 3. I go, how many the other 2? So one other social media, one is a lunatic and the other has got some major issues. And so we do look, so please know that. So what else am I missing, Shay? What are some things that people should be doing out there?
You know, when I was in college, I didn't really go on LinkedIn very often, and everyone's always talking about LinkedIn, your professors, people that you're looking up to, and they're always talking about it, but if you're not listening, you should be, because people like him and me now are on LinkedIn, right? That's where we're getting information, we're learning about each other, so we're probably going to try to learn about you on there.
Yeah, that's a good one, and this reminds me, I hear a lot from college kids or people who are out of maybe college a year or two, and they say, oh, I want to go into this industry, I want to go work for this type of company, but I don't have any experience with that, or something like that. 2 things. One is, on LinkedIn, share some information or articles, even if you didn't write it, share the articles on LinkedIn for that topic. At least it shows that you know a little bit of something about it, you've read it, or followed that topic at some level. But the other is then maybe do some writing projects or examples, or some creative examples for a company in that industry. Or even better, go do a 4-week free internship for a company in that space.
Definitely. And clean up your social media.
All right, so one last tip on something to do before you land that job during the interview process or the search process is, and I come from Silicon Valley, so it's different. I know everyone wears t-shirts and they just hang out and cool, but most places just dress up a little bit, somewhat. Wear a button-down shirt. If you can, wear a jacket. You don't need to wear a tie, but at least dress up, feel it out, know the culture. If you're an engineer or a programming person, you know, maybe the t-shirt is the right way to go, but really I would still stay away from it. There was a gal who came to an interview, she wore shorts. She wore shorts to an interview. That was a year ago.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't her. But by the way, we all talk, I mean, I've got 100 different examples, but over the last year and a half, I've heard some horror stories from coworkers, people I know in the industry. I've seen a few myself, so try to be professional. So Shay, let's talk about what to expect for someone who's a recent college grad once they get into the job world, once they're doing marketing, their first marketing job. And so there's a lot of there's so many things that they don't teach you in college. I know when I went to school, a lot of the stuff they didn't teach you. I mean, no offense, but I remember you coming right out of, you were green right out of college, and you were trying to do all the things that your professors told you, and we were correcting you on most of it. So,
right.
What are a couple things that you can share with our listeners on what they can expect?
Everyone's going to call you green, and if you don't know what that means, look it up and don't tell anyone. You also don't know anything, so you maybe know the 4 Ps, but those don't really matter, and it's not really marketing related. Well,
they do matter, but we're moving so fast and furious that...
You don't think about it. You don't think about the 4 Ps. It's common sense.
And the other thing is, we all move fast. I remember a while back, these 2 recent grads came out of Wharton School of Business, and they were fantastic. And these guys were 30 years old almost, and they had these great PowerPoints and talking strategy. But then, I remember their boss said, all right, go do it. Where do I start? I don't understand. So you have to be able to roll up your sleeves and do some of these things. My biggest advice that I could give is don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, I'll take this project. Because that's one thing that I've seen a lot of people on our team is even if they don't know or they're not an expert in something, they'll raise their hand. Either I can lead that project or you know what, I'll help on that project, because they'll learn. And a month later, 2 weeks later, they are knowledgeable, and now they're managing projects like that themselves.
Definitely. And it's easy to find the tools to figure out how to do something that you don't know how to do. Because, a year ago, I wasn't doing anything that I'm doing now. I had no idea how lead gen worked. I had no idea how marketing worked, marketing automation, CRM. And there's plenty of tools and webinars and things like that that you can go look at to learn about that stuff.
That's true. Articles, webinars, best practice guides. You can just download all that stuff and read it, learn it.
You really should read up, because there's a lot of different aspects of marketing that they don't teach you in college that people from actual companies are giving good information out for free.
I'm going to go back a second. Remember we were talking about things to do to help get that job. I just got a flashback of when you were interviewing, and 2 things that stood out about Shay is she had good project management experience, very detail-oriented. And it said it in the resume, but then when I asked her questions about it, she gave me specific examples of things she did in college and things she did in her internship, and that was very impressive, because in marketing, it's being very detail-oriented and being able to knock out a project and manage it. Very important. The other thing was, and this is something that I remember one of my professors way back in the 90s saying all the time, and this was the early 90s, by the way, is writing. Writing is very important. And Shaelyn she had some good writing examples, and she also called that out heavily and right at the top of her resume, and that stood out because you have to do a lot of writing, and that is important. Whether it be a subject line in an email marketing program, or 2 lines in a Facebook ad, or a full-on a 2-page case study or best practice guide or white papers or 10-page white paper you have to write. You have to be a good writer, right?
True. And it's easy to teach someone how to do something else for marketing, but it's not easy to teach someone how to write.
Exactly. It's easy to teach someone how to put together a Facebook ad, not easy to teach someone how to write. And good advice, good advice. So what else can they expect coming into the workplace?
B2B marketing exists. They don't tell you that in school. They're talking about ad agencies, retail marketing, social media, and that's probably all that you think exists, because that's what I thought.
Yeah, I remember you going, B2B, B2C, well, hold on, what?
Right.
So B2B is business to business, B2C is business to consumer, and so there's different kinds of marketing. You sometimes have to approach it differently. So nice note to have.
Here's another tip. If you're looking to make the big bucks, don't go into marketing. You should go into sales. There's plenty of sales jobs. They'll probably throw the sales jobs at you. But if you want to have fun and you want to like your job, you should go into marketing.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true for the most part. That's a blanket statement, but it depends. 2-3 years later, sometimes it takes 4, 5, 6 years. Then that's when you start to make more money. But coming out of college, first couple of years, it is tough. The other thing is the communications. One thing I've noticed with millennials or people who are just out of college, the communications, leveraging the right vehicle for communications. Some of them do it very well, where I get a lot of texts from our recent grads or people in their early 20s, and that gets my attention. I sometimes have to tell them, hey, you don't need to text me everything, send some via email, but the important stuff, text me. And that's what I like about millennials, and I'd say embrace that. Embrace it. I'm not just embrace it. Leverage the right channels. Someone on our staff actually created a video and sent it to me because I'm going to watch a video. I'm going to click on that. They got my attention. I watched all 2 minutes of it. It was great. Some fails or things not to do. Go back to social media. Clean up your social media. One is someone at my company. We follow each other on Snapchat and sent something out on a Saturday night, and it accidentally got to me instead of her. Well, it got to me and a few of her friends, but luckily this person has a really cool boss and it wasn't a big deal, but you might want to be careful because your boss might not be as cool.
Right, and the funny thing is it sometimes happens to me too. Sometimes I get some interesting Snapchats on a Saturday night as well.
No, that did not happen. All right, let's wrap this up. Shay, thank you so much for sharing your journey from college to the marketing world and sharing some of those tips. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Marketing MASH. You can share your thoughts by following us on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast to keep up with the show. And of course, you can always find us by visiting themarketingscope.com.